There's a phrase, isn't there? We need to talk.
Oh,
And
yes.
if somebody was to say that phrase, I think for most people it must put the fear of God into them. Like,
Your
oh
heart your
no.
heart drops pretty much every time you're like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
We need to talk. Oh no. What have I done now? Uh-oh.
Yes.
There's a phrase, isn't there? We need to talk.
Oh,
And
yes.
if somebody was to say that phrase, I think for most people it must put the fear of God into them. Like,
Your
oh
heart your
no.
heart drops pretty much every time you're like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
We need to talk. Oh no. What have I done now? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Whereas I think, if my wife was to say to me, "We need to talk," I think there'd be an element of that would pop in. But as a therapist, there'd be a lot of, "Ooh, this is going to be good content. There's a lot we can work through here. This will be quite useful." Now I've been a therapist for 20 years, so it's probably easy for me to deal with difficulties and people
Right.
talking about the problems they've got and letting them talk and not preparing an argument in my mind whilst they're talking and not even listening to what they're saying. I'm creating my defense ready to counter their argument. So no,
Oh, yeah.
that's not efficient. That's not how you listen to somebody. Actually
No.
listen to what they say. And that's their lived experience. That's genuine. That's authentic. I think men need to learn that because women are better at talking, they will be talking. And us men, if we're not careful, we're not listening. We're
Oh, yeah.
already just for how can I get out of this? How can I get out of this? How can I? Oh, I just want to walk away. Oh, I can't be doing with this. The
Mhm.
missus is nagging at me again. Oh, for goodness sake.
Thinking about
And
the escape plan.
yeah, and they'll go to the bar and go, yeah, the missus has got a right mood on her. Well, why? What did she say? Listen.
Right. What was the points that she brought up? That you know what's so important about what you're saying too, particularly when it comes to relationships. I like make this point a lot because I've had to, and also to remind myself. I talk so much about implicit bias, right?
Mhm.
I talk about in terms of our perception, and I'm like, number one, when you get in a relationship with somebody, you know that it's not just about how you see things, right? It can't be. Like you literally can't be in a relationship and think like she sees the world the way that I do. He sees the world the way that I do. Like you're already wrong if that's how you're starting this off. That's your premise. You're wrong. So don't do that. But then on top of that, when somebody like when you're talking about your wife or your partner, right, and this person is bringing their perception to me, I can't just dismiss it because you're my partner. Like if I'm just dismissing you, then I'm saying you don't have any valid points to ever bring up, right? Like, oh no, she tried to say this, but I don't agree because I didn't see it that way. So I'm just gonna discard that. It's rubbish, right?
Yeah.
But that's not fair. Because what were we talking about earlier with men? We already feel like that when we want to bring something up when we're young, and it's just like, nope, nobody cares, shut it down. We already know how that plays out.
Mm.
It doesn't go well. It just teaches that person just to shut down or avoid, and that creates further problems that we're going to eventually have to deal with. But they're just going to keep stacking on top of each other.
Mm.
So I'm always talking about the fact that we have to be willing in those moments where we might be a little frustrated to try to look outside of ourselves. Just because she said that or he said that, it doesn't mean that they're right and it doesn't mean that you're right. It means I need to understand what are they trying to say to me. There may be some truth in that. I need to be able to bring and interject my point of view as well so we can find those points of understanding and compromise. Because it's not 100% what she wants, it's not 100% what you want, right? Because we all have to understand that we're not going to see each other's viewpoint 100% the same.
Mm.
But we need to always be open to trying to see it from their perspective.
Without
Like any
resentment.
relationship, right?
Yeah.